Amazon is worth over $1 trillion. To put that number in perspective, if Jizo Krizo, the guy from church, if he made $1 million every day from the day he was born, December 25th, 0, until now, he'd have about 700 years to go before he had $1 trillion. This calculation assumes that there's no compound interest, and also he didn't invest any of the money. It's all made up. It's made up for the video. There are only 16 countries on Earth with a GDP that exceeds $1 trillion. Amazon doesn't just have more money than some countries. It has more money than almost all countries. Just keep that in mind as I tell you the story I'm about to tell. Just try to remember that Amazon is literally a $1 trillion company. Just keep that in the back of your head. Amazon has a PR problem. Despite already being the third largest company on Earth, they still work their employees to the bone, with a focus that borders on dystopian. The other border is on supervillain, in case you were curious. They are innovators in the space of making work miserable for the people whose labor they profit from. Whether it's outfitting warehouse employees with special bracelets that monitor their performance so that if their muscles aren't moving in the optimum way, they can be reprimanded, to allegedly creating unsafe working conditions where employees get electrocuted or break bones, or forcing such an arduous pace on their delivery drivers that they're forced to piss in bottles and defecate in shopping bags. Last October, a worker at an Amazon facility named Billy Foister had a heart attack and was left unconscious on the floor for 20 minutes. He was then sent to the hospital, where he died. And then his fellow workers were ordered to go back to work immediately after watching a man they worked with being taken to the hospital to die. Foister's brother, Edward, had this to say to the New York Post: "How can you not see a 6'3" man laying on the ground and not help him within 20 minutes? A couple of days before, he put the wrong product in the wrong bin, and within 2 minutes, management saw it on camera and came down to talk to him about it." These are the type of working conditions one might expect in a Charles Dickens morality play about orphans in Victorian workhouses, not the modern fulfillment centers of the third wealthiest company on the planet. They can't spare minutes to let their employees piss and shit, or notice when human beings are dropping dead around them. That would cost them potentially dozens of dollars a day. How could they afford that? If those kind of disruptions cost them, say, I don't know, $10 million a day somehow, they'd blow through their whole wad in just 273 years. And of course, those ungrateful serfs chose to blame their feudal lords for this deliberate exploitation, and are trying to unionize in an effort to fix these problems instead of simply listening to their betters who insist the problems do not exist. In Bessemer, Alabama, a vote was held by Amazon warehouse workers on whether to unionize. The ballots are still being counted as we speak, and Amazon is still trying to prevent them from being counted as we speak, and the whole thing has Amazon a little bit squirrely. Now, I'm not a $1 trillion corporation's marketing strategist. I don't really know how I'd handle that situation if I were. Well, I mean, I know how I would handle the situation, I'd quit, but you get what I'm trying to say. The one thing I probably wouldn't do is create a social media account to do epic clapbacks at politicians, journalists, or random accounts that portray Amazon in a bad light. But that's what they did. That's the strategy they have decided to pursue. Enter Amazon News. When Wisconsin Representative Mark Pecan criticized Amazon's self-congratulatory self-description as a progressive workplace, while employees are forced to piss in bottles, Amazon News had this to say: "You don't really believe the peeing in bottles thing, do you? If that were true, nobody would work for us. The truth is that we have over 1 million incredible employees around the world who are proud of what they do and have great wages and healthcare from day one. We hope you can enact policies that get other employees to offer what we already do." Now, it'd be a really bad idea to say something like this if, for example, there were documents proving that Amazon employees were in fact working so hard that they were forced to piss in bottles, or worse, and that higher-ups at the company knew and did nothing to fix the problem. Thankfully, however, no such documentation exists. Because the documentation that proves this was happening and the higher-ups knew about it makes it pretty clear that they were reprimanding employees for doing it. The following is text from an email provided to The Intercept from Amazon Logistics, and I want to give credit to Ken Klippenstein for the amazing work he's done busting the story wide open. "Hello. This evening, an associate discovered human feces in an Amazon bag that was returned to station by a driver. This is the third occasion in the last 2 months when bags have been returned to station with poop inside. We understand that DAs may have emergencies while on road, especially during COVID. DAs have struggled to find bathrooms while delivering. Regardless, DAs cannot, must not, return bags to station with poop inside. We've noticed an uptick recently in all kinds of unsanitary garbage being left inside bags. Used masks, gloves, bottles of urine. By scanning the QR code on the bag, we can easily identify the DA who was in possession of the bag last. These behaviors are unacceptable and will result in Tier 1 infractions going forward. Please communicate this message to your drivers. I know it may seem obvious or like something you shouldn't need to coach, but please be explicit when communicating the message that they cannot poop or leave bottles of urine inside bags. And then the email has this sentence: the health and safety of all DAs and Amazon associates will always be our top priority. None of us should have to deal with these kinds of messes. Please respond and confirm that you've received this email. Thanks for your support, Jen Snyder, On-Road Area Manager, DPP1. So there you go! The drivers who do this will get in trouble. Problem solved, case closed, nothing to see here. It's not an Amazon policy to make employees piss in bottles. That's a ridiculous, spurious, frankly, libelous suggestion. Amazon's never gonna tell employees to piss in bottles. They simply create working conditions which necessitate their employees pissing in bottles to not miss the absurd deadlines and targets they're asked to meet. But don't worry, they hear you. They're committed to fixing this problem. They've already begun reprimanding and terminating the employees responsible. To quote The Intercept once more, Haley Marie Brown, a 26-year-old resident of Manteca, California, who worked as a delivery driver for an Amazon delivery contractor, Soon Express, until quitting on March 12th, told The Intercept that the practice happens because we are literally implicitly forced to do so, otherwise we will end up losing our jobs for too many undelivered packages. An email that Brown received from her managers this past August has a section titled Urine Bottle and states, in the morning, you must check your van thoroughly for garbage and urine bottle. If you find urine bottle or urine bottles, please report to your lead, supporting staff, or me. Vans will be inspected by Amazon during debrief. If urine bottles are found, you will be issued an infraction Tier 1 for immediate offboarding. While Amazon technically prohibits the practice, documents characterize it as a Tier 1 infraction, which employees say can lead to a termination. Drivers said that this was disingenuous, since they can't meet their quotas otherwise. They give us 30 minutes of paid breaks, but you will not finish your work if you take it, no matter how fast you are, one Amazon delivery employee based in Massachusetts told me. See, that's a pretty weird bungle, right? It makes Amazon seem like a bunch of antagonistic assholes, doesn't it? Amazon engineers certainly thought so, because they filed support tickets suggesting that these accounts may have been hacked. Just let that wash over you for a second. Amazon's own security team assumed that these tweets were so embarrassing to the company's brand that they must have been made by hackers deliberately trying to make the company look bad. But they weren't! They weren't! They were made by Amazon representatives. Now at this point, any sensible company would cut their losses and say, okay, that was a whoopsie doodle, time to pack it in. Maybe they should, apologize for lying, and maybe instead of trying to cover up the problem on Twitter, they could just do literally anything to make it so that delivery drivers didn't have to piss in bottles as a matter of routine. Maybe their deliberately antagonistic approach to criticism just, resulted in their terrible treatment of employees landing back in the news. Maybe that. But Amazon didn't stop there. Over the past week or so, there's been an outbreak of equally antagonistic Twitter accounts purporting to be Amazon warehouse workers. Now, when these first started popping up, people just assumed they were shitposts, just comedy Twitter accounts made by critics of Amazon, and some of them probably are. Though it's worth pointing out that Twitter has started banning people who adopt the naming convention these accounts have of person at warehouse location box emoji for impersonation, which suggests the accounts that remain are probably legit, even if some of them use stock photos in their bios. In response to a new wave of criticism leveled at Amazon because of their bad decisions and the looming vote over unionization in Alabama, Amazon quietly revived a 2018 program where random employees are coached to respond to criticism against the company with their sassy senses of humor. The program is called... and I just can't with this. The program is called Veritas, the Latin word for truth. They call it that, you see, because employees are encouraged to speak their truth. Like, for example, in this 10-page document leaked to The Intercept, instructing employees on how and when they should speak their truth and what their truth should be. It provides some helpful drafts of how to answer questions about their truth, what their truth might look like, and when they must not speak their truth. For example, do not speak your truth about the right to unionize. Do not. No, tell me that isn't some supervillain shit right there. Launching clandestine programs with Latin names to silence criticism? Just wowzers bowsers, am I right, folks? Candidates for this program were chosen for their great sense of humor and also whether they were respected by their peers. They delivered such sassy clapbacks as this one. A Twitter user responds to Amazon News' previously mentioned inflammatory tweet with, "At Amazon News, peeing in bottles is real, get your hands out of your heads. Plus, you couldn't pay me well for my knee injury." In comes Yola at Oak Ford to respond, "I'm sorry about your knee," crying emoji. But as for peeing in bottles, I can't agree. I have never peed in a bottle or know anyone here who has. There are restrooms here for a reason. Rate is important, but I would not go in a bottle to keep it high, cry laughing emoji. So, couple things there, Yola. She appears to work at a fulfillment center where the problem of peeing in bottles does indeed not seem to be as rampant as it is for Amazon drivers. So, congrats, I guess, weird flex. Actually, that's not a problem for me because I do a job that's different from the one where that happens. Secondly, turns out it's kind of a problem for fulfillment centers too, because the original poster responded, "Well, where I was working, they told us in a huddle that if we don't use bathroom only on breaks or lunches, we will be TOT and get coaching." TOT is Amazon slang for time off task, meaning you're not doing your job, you're pissing. You're not being paid to have the limitations of a human body when you're on the clock. You are a product sorting machine. So, yeah, Amazon didn't tell them like, hey, if you gotta pee while you're doing your job, maybe try a bottle instead of toilet. But what they did do is kind of like create conditions where if you tried to go to the toilet on your shift, you could be fired, thereby incentivizing bottle pissing. Oh, you think Amazon is a bad place to work? Well, guess what? They provide their employees with a bin full of all the relish they could ever want. Hashtag best job ever. Plenty of bathrooms at my location. I've never had to use a bottle. Ew. Hey Viola, nobody said anything about bottles. You're the one who introduced pissing in bottles into this conversation, Viola. Hey Amazon, the peeing in bottles thing, you really gotta let that go. You are not helping yourselves here. You are not controlling this narrative like you seem to think you are. Now, some of you might be saying at this point that one account or another I've highlighted here might be fake. A planted account, which is parodying the real ones. To which I might respond, gee, that kind of seems like a huge problem with the whole program, doesn't it? Don't you think it's a problem for them that their PR can't be told apart from random Twitter shitposters? Doesn't that seem like something Amazon's social media team might have anticipated? Amazon is a $1 trillion company. The people who run it, up to and including CEO Jorf Bezos-Diazepam, all seem to think that this aggressive approach to Twitter criticism is a wise choice that makes them look good. The people who control more wealth and resources than almost all countries on Earth all saw this idea and said, yes, that ought to help us. This is a smart and effective course of action. Folks, Amazon would rather pay employees to tweet about how they can use the bathroom pretty much whenever they want. They're so scared of their employees unionizing and fighting for bathroom privileges that they're creating dozens of accounts to spread inept propaganda on Twitter about how if you unionize, that would be a hashtag epic fail cry laughing emoji. No, cry laughing emoji. What the fuck? Why can't I type out a cry laugh emoji? What? Now it's all eyeball emojis. What the I didn't type this. Hello and welcome to the Eyeball Zone. Here in the Eyeball Zone, we capture the spirit of small leftist creators within an eyeball, and then have them battle one another in a turn-based RPG published by Nintendo in partnership with the Eyeball Company. Why is Amazon so afraid of unions? Is there some sort of history of labor unions? In this video, A History of Labor Unions, the Lucretia Report outlines a history of labor unions, going back as far as their arguable antecedents in medieval trade guilds, to the collapse of union membership as a result of neoliberal reforms. If you want to know why Amazon is willing to burn their public image to the ground in order to make employees piss the way they like, this video might help you recontextualize why. Do you have a small leftist project you'd like to see featured here in the Eyeball Zone? Send no more than one email to thoughtclimbeditor@gmail.com with the word eyeballs somewhere in the subject line, and perhaps you will find yourself trapped here in the Eyeball Zone. Another video in the books! Haha, did it again. Another video. There were some who said I couldn't do a video, but I did, didn't I? Anyway, if you better press that like button, or I'm gonna come down there and tell you what's what. If you sat all the way through the video, please take this opportunity to go to the bathroom. As far as I'm concerned, me, Matthew, you can go to the bathroom whenever you want. If at any point during one of my videos, you feel the urge to go to the bathroom, just pause the video and go. It's fine. Watch it in the bathroom for all I care. Speaking of piss and shit, you can support me monetarily at patreon.com/thoughtslime. Also, Scaredy Cats, that's horror videos that's videos about horror media that I also do at youtube.com/scaredycatstv. The video's over. There's no more video. Get out of here.